And we're back to continue our discussions on the Enterprise Agility Podcast. My name is John Lim, and I'm joined today by Fred Champlain and Andy Jordan, who will dive into the importance of forward-looking enterprise architecture. There is so much to talk about when thinking about this space, and I know our hosts are excited to get to it. So with that, I'll hand it over to Andy.
Thanks, John. Fred, as we talk this time, we're going to talk about this idea of enterprise architecture. And I think like a lot of people, I consider enterprise architecture as a discipline that is concerned primarily with what the organization is doing, the current business, enterprise technology, people, architecture, and the value streams that flow from that. And I know that's probably going to upset a lot of enterprise architects. But when you and I were talking, you were saying that you're really now looking to help enterprise architects in looking forward and this idea of an architectural runway. So tell us a bit more about that.
Sure, and yeah, that's right. The jobs of enterprise architects are varied and many. In terms of this concept of architectural runway, which has been popularized within the SAFe framework, scaled agile framework, is really one of the factors within scaling agile. It's really quite key, and that is that we want to find our dependencies as early as we can, of course, and identify those and make sure that they're funded. So architectural runway refers to the notion that we want to think about what SAFe refers to as enabler items. And typically those are infrastructure items or technical items, non-functional requirement related, typically items that also sometimes have a longer lead time to acquire or to get in place. It may be a new platform. For example, it may be a whole new platform that's being brought in. Maybe ServiceNow is being brought in, right, and implemented. So you need to get that set and ready, and then we have developers come in and build on that. So that is the idea, is that, of course, one of the biggest issues around scaling are dependencies. It's the big issue, and that's usually where we get tripped up in terms of timing and thinking about PIs and quarterly tight planning as well. So with our new Enterprise Architecture Workspace, it really enables our customers to now start looking at their enterprise architecture and thinking about backlogs, being able to filter on their enablers and think about the CapEx that would go in and do the planning equally as much as we would for any other business function.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense when you think about it. When I think about it, it's something that isn't necessarily thought about enough by the people who are focusing on those core sexy applications that need to get built, those dependencies that can derail them very quickly. And if you don't think that through, you're not going to find out until it's way too late. And just because now we're primarily dealing with service-based infrastructure doesn't necessarily make it any easier. You use the example of implementing a new platform, but even if it's just a case of renegotiating an existing contract, doesn't matter how service-based we get, the contract process still takes a lot longer than anybody thinks it should. So we need to be able to identify those things up front and deal with them, because otherwise we're going to find ourselves with real problems.
Yeah, that's a great example, Andy, and a real life example. Getting additional cloud capacity, for example, when you're executing on a quarterly basis, a month matters, and that can really impact if we haven't identified that in advance. So by having this backlog, having enough runway, if you will, to be ahead of the rest of the teams in making sure that we're building the right thing, just like any other business epic or capability, is we want to invest in the right pieces of architecture as well. We need to make sure that we have that in place, prioritize it just like anything else, and make sure that we're using a capacity allocation policy at the portfolio level to make sure that we're not neglecting our enablers. And that is another guardrail that we can put in place to ensure that we're getting good funding to avoid those potential blockers.
And I'm assuming that this is going to be integrated as part of APM, Application Portfolio Management, which adds another layer to that and further provides another perspective, another lens into the whole APM landscape that is now for technology leaders becoming a real business, a powerful business tool that they can use to help support their business partners in these initiatives that they're pursuing.
That's right, Andy, and especially as we look over the horizon a little bit in terms of business architecture as a domain of enterprise architecture and value streams and value delivery. We'll continue to be investing in this area, but even today with epics, we can tag those, flag those as enablers, and simply filter on those when for example, an enterprise architect can look at what their items are relative to their portfolio and prioritize and make decisions and participate in that funding exercise to ensure that these are being funded on equal footing.
Mm-hmm. It's a small thing, but I love that word enabler, by the way. It's a dependency. We all understand what a dependency is, and a lot of people have got a background in projects, and it's just one of those things that you deal with. But enabler is such more powerful a word. It's so much more descriptive of what is actually happening here. You need to be able to deal with these enablers, or you're not going to be able to enable the business performance that we're seeking to get from whatever that main initiative is.
Exactly. Yeah, it has always been the case, but now we are bringing visibility and forefront here, and credit to the SAFe framework. They've made this more visible in terms of an important aspect, but we're really taking that and it's being adopted, I think, across just LPM practices in general, and awareness that architecture matters, dependencies matter, of course, and this is our ability to bring this and leverage the platform to really pull elements together on the platform and provide amplifying value to our customers.
Absolutely. It's just yet another way that enterprise architecture is helping organizations understand what they have, how they achieve what they achieve, and how they need to evolve that going forward. I think it's awesome.